Hello, everybody. Okay, so this is my review of Wasteland, which was another Belgian film. I saw my two films today were both Belgian films. What do you know? But anyway, it was directed by a guy named Peter Van Hees. And this movie was weird as hell. Weird as hell. I have to give this movie a thumbs down because I did not like it overall, although there were things about it I liked, which is frustrating because, you know, I want to give it praise for the things it did right, but it did so many things wrong, in my opinion. It just didn't work overall. You know, it was just such a confusing mess. It seemed like the director was going in so many different directions that had nothing to do with each other. And, you know, this direction was good, that direction was good, but together, like, they just didn't work. And they actually worked against each other. So, okay, so the basics of the plot is the main character is this homicide detective, this young, very good-looking, cool-looking homicide detective. And he was played by a guy named Jeremy Reiner, not sure how you pronounce it. Jeremy Renier or Renier. Pardon me if I'm mispronouncing that, which I know I am. Okay? Anyway, he's married to he's a homicide detective, and he sees all these horrible things. He goes to murder scenes and murder investigations, and there's blood everywhere, and, they're very often in these really, kind of down and out settings. And, he's seen a lot of tragedy. He's seen a lot of, violence and stuff like that. And, he's married to this woman who's, to me, just seemed kind of bitchy overall most of the time. They have a son together, but it's not his son. It was her son from a previous relationship. But he raised him since he was about 1 year old and was basically his father and really did love this kid. You could tell they had a nice bond together. And so when the movie begins, she finds out that she's pregnant, and he's all happy about it because he wants to have a child of his own, but she doesn't want it. And so, and he's, you can see he's disappointed when she tells him, I don't think we should keep it. And, he's like, well, I'll get another job, because one of her complaints is that his job, it consumes him, and, he gets all caught up in his work, and, it affects their relationship and stuff like that. And he's like, well, I'll get another job, and stuff like that. But anyway, so then he starts doing this investigation. They find this body of this teenage boy in the river. He's been strangled, and he's a black boy. And so they go to his family to start investigating, and he meets this very young, seductive black girl who is his sister. And I think her name was Aisha in the movie. But anyway, you can tell, like, right away there's this, attraction between them, and he seems fascinated with her and with her culture. And when he gets there, when they get to her apartment for the investigation, there's this big hootenanny going on. They're singing and all this stuff, and they're singing all this, like, African music and stuff like that. And he's, you can tell he's, like, really kind of into this, he's interested. And, then these, like, statues are involved in this investigation for some reason. I can't remember how they came into it, but they're these, like, relic-type statues, like these African statues that came from Kinshasa or something. So him and his partner go to investigate these statues, and then there's you sort of start getting, like, hints of, like, there's a voodoo vibe going on. Like, these statues were being used in a ritual and all this stuff. And there's this guy, this white guy, who supposedly bought these statues from this kid, and his name is Jean. So he's trying to track this guy down, and the only thing they have is this one photograph of him, which is like this grainy black and white photo, and he's an older man, and he's wearing like these shades, and his eyes just look like these black holes. So that was the part of it that really interested me. I thought, oh, okay, shit, there's gonna be some voodoo stuff going on here. This is cool. But, it didn't really go anywhere, Like, I mean, he went to question the guys who ran the place that the kid got the statues from, and he's asking them about these statues, and this one guy, this very intense-looking guy is telling him, oh yeah, like, these are used in rituals, and they're very powerful, and all this stuff, and And, you know, and it didn't really go anywhere. Like, I kept waiting for this, like, part of the story to develop, and it never really did. And then, this cop, he starts getting into a sexual relationship with the black girl, with the sister, and, but you never really, see that develop either. Like, you just see random scenes here and there of them going to a party, dancing. His partner's a real party animal. He's partying all the time. They're all drinking and even, snorting coke and stuff. Like, they're having these really wild parties. And, like, all these scenes were so disjointed, And then, another thing that didn't make sense was at the beginning of the movie when his wife tells him that she's pregnant, he's all happy. And then all of a sudden, he just starts getting all, like, obsessed with this case, and then he just leaves. He just abandons her. He takes off, He leaves. He actually leaves the home and moves into a hotel, and then he starts really going into this downward spiral where he just completely loses his mind. Now, his father is in, like, some nursing home, and he's, like, it was never really told, but you get the hint that this guy was, like, an abusive father and really fucked him up, and he's, like, part of the reason that he is the way he is. And plus, this guy cuts himself, this cop. He cuts himself, which is really, I've never heard of men doing this. I know women, I've heard of a lot of women who cut themselves, self-mutilation. But this guy, he'd stand in the bathroom and just cut his arm with a razor or whatever, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then, like, it just starts getting worse and worse and worse. And then he starts, becoming obsessed with finding this Jeong guy. And there's a scene where he meets him in this it was a good scene. Like, it's dark. This guy is sitting on this hilltop, this, secluded hilltop. And this cop is coming up the hill and he's questioning him. And he's giving him all this, like, weird, like, he's going on and rambling, this older guy, about, like, I can't even remember what it was, but he was going on and on about something, and it was a really good scene. And but it turns out that when this cop went and told his supervisors and stuff about this, they're like, "Oh, this guy's in Kinshasa. He's not even here." So you get the sense this was like an imaginary thing, or maybe this guy had, like, made himself materialize in some kind of voodoo thing or whatever. Like, it was just really. It could have been so much better, this movie, and I kept wanting it to be better and waiting for it to get better, and it never did. It never delivered, and, I found it very frustrating to watch. It was boring, really boring in parts, because it wasn't going anywhere. Like, they'd start to, introduce, like, this kind of plot development, which would never go anywhere, and you're like, I thought we were going here, and now we're here? Like, what's happening here? And anyway, so the bottom line is that this guy just completely loses his mind and goes insane, and, that's it, basically. I mean, it was just a mess. This movie was a mess. It could have been really, really good. This movie could have been so much better, but, this director, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know. I don't know if he was, like, I don't know what to say. It was very confusing and frustrating and ultimately boring and not good. Can't recommend it, I wish I could, because there were things about it I liked. There were things about it I liked, but it just did not work overall. And that's really too bad. That's really too bad, because this could have been an awesome film if it had been done correctly, which I don't believe it was. So that's basically all I have to say about Wasteland. So, today, I'm doing this on the last day of the festival. When I came home last night, I was so tired, I just could not do reviews. So I'm doing them today. Today's the last day of the festival. I'm seeing 2 more movies. And the first one is Hungry Hearts, which is supposed to be very good. And then the last one, which is a great way to end the festival, and I am sure, I'll put money on this one that it's going to be great. It's Tales of the Grim Sleeper, which is a documentary by Nick Broomfield, who's a great documentarian. It's about a serial killer who terrorized LA, and it sounds really, really good. So that's how I'm going to be ending the festival, and I will be back with my reviews of those final 2 films. Thanks for sticking with me if you've watched all of them. If you've only watched some of them, thanks for watching those too. And I'll be back with the final 2. Okay, see you guys soon. Bye for now.